Fanti in a great resumption of form this season. Fox wins the Austrian Grand Prix and he wins the Italian Grand Prix. A great race for him. Will come across the line here and win the Brazilian Grand Prix. Redemption day for the American driver. She wins the Spanish Grand Prix. Will beat Kubo unless Caddo gets an amazing run, which he does. As he comes to the final winner for the very first time. Hello and welcome to this, the finale for Ultimate Virtual Season 7. We are here at the Brazilian Grand Prix for this qualifying session. You may be wondering, what is this? Why is it a 5-minute session? What is going on here? Why is the qualifying 2 days before the race? Why? Well, let me just explain. In previous seasons, the finale, as dramatic as it has been, and as amazing it has been in certain seasons, 4 and 5 particularly come to mind, 6 not to be underrated, and 1 where it all began. It can sometimes get spoilt by championship contenders starting further down the pack and not being able to make their way through, all because of a 3-minute qualifying session which wasn't representative of their broader pace across the season and across, well, even just the weekend really. So, why switch to this? Well, we want to give these top drivers, the 11 that are in championship contention, at least for now. There is a possibility that it drops down to 10 by the end of today, but we'll get onto that later. We want to give them all the best chance that they can possibly have of actually succeeding within this session and getting through. We have Q1, Q2 and Q3. This is Q1. You can see the red line just above the 16th place driver and the bottom 5 highlighted in red. That indicates that those 5 drivers will be going out of this session as it stands. We've got some pretty big names in there as well. We have Caddo, Jiruni and Goose in there who are in championship contention. This qualifying format is somewhat of a throwback actually to the old way of doing it in Ultimate Virtual. Back in Season 5 we used to have tyre wear during qualifying that was scrapped I believe for Season 6 onwards, and then the rain in qualifying was also scrapped for Season 7 onwards. So we've transitioned more and more towards the idea of hot laps again and again and again, relentless hot lapping. But actually it's really refreshing to just see this qualifying format brought back and in a way that really works. Now, our eyes have to be focused on the drivers in the bottom 5 because fundamentally, as with really most Q1, Q2, Q3 formats, the top 15 do not matter. It's a good indication of pace. You can see particularly the Leadpour team, who unfortunately are just a hair's breadth outside of championship contention, but I think realistically we're a lot lower than that anyways. Or lower chances of getting it at least. They're doing really well so far. Corvid in 6th on the timing boards and Shiloh in 2nd place. Corvid particularly is still in championship contention. You can see he's got 48 points. He's not part of that key pack of 8 or so drivers that are in really close championship potential within 10 points. He's within 20 points, but still never say never, right? We get all these drivers crossing the line. Kraft goes fastest. Shiloh improves. Caddo does improve. That is big for a driver who is well down the order. Other drivers, Jiruni does improve. He's up into 13th position now. So these improvements, all absolutely critical. Somehow I made it. Does improve, but I believe only to 19th place. That could mean that Goose does go out. They will have one final run as pit crew, who is looking to defend his title here on home soil. 2/10 clear of the entire field. Very impressive stuff. But yeah, a lot of these drivers, interestingly enough, okay, we've got some drivers who are coming in. I believe that both the drivers who are staying out now and the drivers who are coming in will get their final runs in. It just sort of depends on how close it is, how nip and tuck it is with the timings. These drivers will have a sort of cool down lap on the way to the line, whereas I think these drivers, Kraft and Priya, will be flying at the line. They are not in any risk anyway, so we're not really going to pay much attention to them other than sort of vague curiosity. But you can see the drivers in that red zone, the drivers highlighted in red there. Kada, Suicide, Fox, Somehow I Made It, and Goose. Goose is the big name in that bottom 5. Antti, though, is right on the cusp, so he also needs to improve, because the likelihood of at least one of those drivers improving, as Pri and Kraft do come into the pit lane to go for one final run, the likelihood of at least one of those drivers improving is absolutely gargantuan, and Antti is in a really good position at the moment. Second place in the championship, as you can see, 3 points off the leader, Juan. He cannot afford to go out. Goose, though, also would really, really be harmed by going out here. So this is very, very high stakes stuff. We can see our key drivers here. Lots of drivers in not much threat, really. Grandy, these drivers should all be pretty much safe. It is when you start to look towards Jiruni, only in 13th. Antti, only in 15th. We've got some improvements higher up. Can Antti improve? Will he be knocked down into the bottom 5 here? It looks like he's fine. Will he improve? Yes, that should be enough, I believe. Has Goose done it? Goose has not done enough. Goose, I believe, will be out of this qualifying session. That's right, the Flying V Racing driver, 20th and last on the grid. We can see him there. That will not be enough for his efforts. And he will be our championship contender, as well as Jiruni. Jiruni will be out in the first round of qualifying here in Interlagos. Absolutely incredible scenes. We'll see the results screen very soon indeed, but that is a real shock. And as you can see here, Jiruni in the BBB Force X, not able to capitalise on what should be a very fast car at this circuit. His teammate in Q1 managed to be all the way up in 3rd position. Alas, Jeru knocked out by 0.12 seconds in the first round of qualifying. Abva, Kada and Suicide, 3 drivers not in championship contention, and their teams not in the best positions to really challenge that high up either. They are no big losses in Q1. The other, though, is Goose. Plumb last on the grid will be a big challenge for him. If we can pop up the standings here, Jiruni 3rd place in the championship, Goose 5th place in the championship. These 2 drivers will have a long way to come back in the race. We may see only 6 of those top 8 really in the fight, unless those 2 can have an incredible first stint. That was a very dramatic opening section of qualifying. We'll move straight on now to Q2. And just like that, we return. Now, Q2, 3 minutes on the board. This is our second qualifying session, and the top 15 are reassembled. On the grid, we have lost 5 drivers. Goose from FVR out in last place. Suicide, Kada and Abva, the 3 non-championship contenders, out in those 3 places as well. And in 16th place, one of the big shocks of qualifying along with Goose was, of course, the elimination of Jiruni. Their teammates, Kraf, Todsod, Fox, Kado, and yeah, they're all through, so they're doing well. But still, I'm happy, of course. This should be a really interesting second qualifying session. Less time on the board now, so these drivers obviously all now on their 2nd lap. This is their first of the flying laps, and after we get the scores on the doors here, we'll take a little look at the leaderboard as well. Kraft goes straight to the top, Charlo straight to 2nd, displaced by Pit Crew. A little bit of odds and sods lower down the order, somehow made it improves ahead of Fox. So the cutoff line, as you can now see, just behind the 10th position driver, who is Pappy, who is of course mathematically in championship contention, but it would take a very lucky set of circumstances to see him become champion. Very lucky for him, at least. You can see of that green pack, of that sort of top 8, we have only 6 remaining. We lost Jeru and Goose. We have Juan, Antti, Pit Crew, Jake. Yes, that's right, isn't it? Is it a top 7? God, my brain's all sorts of... Sorry, yeah, top 8. So we lost Jeru and Goose. We have Juan, Antti, Pit Crew, Jake, Grandy and Kado all remaining. The sort of fringe 3 are still in it. Corvid, 9th place in the championship, 7th place in the standings at the moment. Pappy on the verge of elimination in 10th, and Priya just about still in contention for the championship, but also currently up in 4th place on the timing sheets. The big drivers to look out for: Anti could potentially go out. Juan, our championship leader, is set currently to go out. Todsod not in championship contention. Nora somehow made it, and Fox, they've had rougher seasons. But still, yeah, big news to see Juan or Anti go out. And then, of course, Papi, Grandi, Caddo. That is a massive pack of drivers right ahead of them, all of whom could go out. So we will be following those laps in particular. I think we could see a real surprise here, because I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these drivers actually improving. Anti definitely needs to improve. I'd say Papi definitely needs to improve as well. Can they make up the 0.4 of a second to Caddo and Grandi? It's not impossible. We have the drivers coming over the line here. None of these drivers particularly are at risk. Caddo does improve, gets himself out of the risk zone. Anti does improve, but only to 10th, and gets knocked out by Juan, who does improve as well. But that sees Anti out of qualifying here. Papi also out of qualifying. He was also mathematically in the title race, but the big loss, Anti went up into 10th position, if only for the briefest of moments. But the Finnish driver will not repeat his season 5 heroics as it stands. He is out. In Q2, we lose another titan of the title fight here. Gosh. One of our protagonists falls by the wayside. So there we have it, the Q2 results. Jake Brad was fastest, but the eliminations were crucial. The 3 Canadians at the bottom of the pile, Papi, Fox and Todsod, out 13th, 14th and 15th. Fox and Todd were already out of championship contention. Todd only by about a point or so. Papi similarly was just inside championship contention, but realistically would have had a very difficult time getting there. Somehow I made it as out, but next to him, former teammate 500ths ahead, it was Anti, one of the key championship protagonists in this fight. And he's out. Second place in the drivers' standings. He's going to have to start from 11th place. A lot of people call it strategic pole position back in the days of the Q2 tyre rule. But he will have an almighty challenge from there. He will need a very, very good first stint indeed to see him fly up the order. We'll see what the results are as we set now the top 10 for this brand new one-shot qualifying format. Here we go then. The first runner in this one-shot qualifying Q3 session, Shiloh. She is already out of championship contention, well down the order, around 16th, 17th position in the World Drivers' Championship. But she gets to go out, set her lap time. Remember, her teammate Corvid still mathematically in the championship fight. You can see the indicator on the top left, she is setting purple sectors. That is because she is the first driver out on track. It's a 28.57 for the US driver. Kraf next up. He is also not in championship contention. None of these first 3 in Q3 will be. Can he improve? No. First sector, 0.23 seconds down on Shiloh's sector 1 time. That's a 10.05 for the Finn. Can he improve through the second sector? Yes. 1600 swing his way. That's a purple sector 2. Can he make it a provisional pole position? He does. 0.04 of a second in the end that does it. Next up, Rito, the final of our non-championship contending runners in Q3. Kraf holds pole position by 0.04 of a second, slower through the first sector, quicker through the next 2. Rito is really doing well. 0.2 up through sector 1. Can he cling on to this advantage as he comes through the sector 2 timing line now? Okay, lost 0.07 of a second to slightly slower sector 2. Can he still hold on to this 0.13? Take provisional pole? No, he doesn't. He drops 0.17 of a second. That sees him currently tied for second, but because Shiloh set her lap first, Rito will start last out of the runners that we've had so far. Pre-annex in the Audi Sport Virtual. This is a big one. Remember, her teammate could deny her championship contention today by getting pole position. She is nearly 0.2 up in the first sector, but we've seen this before, and she does yet again lose a lot of time to Kraf in that middle sector, just like we saw with the runners before. Can she cling on to this 0.04? No! The 0.06 loss in the final sector. She goes only second fastest. 0.02 was all that separated her from the fastest time so far. Corvid now a true championship contender. Priya right off the frames here, but Corvid a good 20 points off. Purple through Sector 1, nearly a quarter second up on Craft. It looks like Craft's first sector was not as strong as it potentially could have been, but again he shows this pattern of losing time through that middle sector. He's dropped a good 10th and a half through there. Can he still hold it? No, he goes slowest of them all. Of the runners so far, Corvid in last position, Cano up next. A good time to explain that in the top left, a green sector means that they previously held the fastest sector, no longer do. Purple means that they currently do. Yellow is otherwise. In the timing board down below, as Cano actually goes 100 slower through sector 1, yellow means that they're not improving. Green means that they're faster than the fastest lap sector, but not necessarily the fastest sector overall. And purple means that that is the fastest anyone has done that sector. Cano properly down, a 10th and a half down, and that'll only grow. Last place on the grid out of the Q3 runners for him so far. Next up we have Grandy. Grandy is a true race winner, a seasoned driver when it comes to competing at the top. He's an outside shot at the title, but look at that, a fastest sector 1, slight error I believe in the timing board on the top left. That should be a purple sector 1, a quarter second up. Will we finally see the might of the Thunder X take on that BFX through the middle sector? Still, he drops 1400ths. All he needs to do is not lose by more than a tenth to Craft, and he takes provisional pole. No! 200ths off, ties Priya's lap time. Said it later though. So Grandy on course to start third as it stands. What about Jake? He is one of our core championship contenders. He is 9 points or 8 points off Juan at the moment. Jake 3.5 tenths through the first sector. What a fantastic sector 1. Will he lose as much through sector 2 as some of the drivers who have gone before did? Not quite. 600ths only down to Craft. Surely he will not lose a 3/10 advantage here. As he comes up to the line, Jake takes provisional pole position from the BFX driver by 3.5 tenths as well. It's come absolutely flying out of the blocks, and the other drivers nowhere near him, all of them up in the dot 5s, and Jake a dot 18. Pit Crew up next now. He won the title on home soil, but that first sector is not championship winning material. It was around the range of those drivers going after Craft. Can he improve through here? No, he can't. He drops another 100th of a second to Jake. Now a very high bar for provisional pole position. Can he keep it together, take P2 on the grid? No. Down in 7th position as it stands. Not a good lap from the Brazilian driver. Which means we have just one runner left, and that one is Juan. He, in the Audi Sport Virtual, has the potential to actually knock his teammate out of championship contention by taking the pole position here, but it would mean the world to him. His closest rivals fallen by the wayside. He goes quicker through Sector 1, the fastest Sector 1 we've seen from anyone, a 9.66, quicker than Jake. What about Sector 2? Not the fastest, but still improving, nearly a 10th up on provisional pole. Can the championship leader take pole position for the final race? Yes, he can! By 100th of a second. The finest of margins sees the Belgian driver start from the very front here in Interlagos. And what a lap that is. Purple through Sector 1. Not quite the fastest of all through Sectors 2 and 3, but he held that lap together. And while all the other drivers off the front row have fallen down in the dot 5s, dot 6s and dot 7s, he was so close, and he pips Jake to the pole position. So there we have it. Juan takes pole position in the Brazilian Grand Prix by a single 100th of a second. What dramatic fashion for the championship leader, the last of the runners in the one-shot qualifying Q3 to take pole position. Jake will start on the front row, those two in pretty much a league of their own. In qualifying, will we see the same reflected in the race? 3.5 tenths back. Craft will start from 3rd position, then Priya starts from 4th. Audi take rows 1 and 2. A good sign for their potential World Constructors Championship push, but they'll face strong resistance from Thunder X and Grandy. Starting in 5th position, Shiloh and Rito out of championship contention, starting 6th and 7th. Pit Crew down in 8th. He would have hoped to be a bit higher than that on home turf, looking to defend the title. That may be a bit more difficult now. Corvid and Cano outside shots of the title start from row 5, and a reminder of our Q2 and Q1 eliminations. Anti and Somehow I Made It will start on row 6 of the grid. Pappy, then Fox on row 7. Todsod knocked out 15th. Jaruni out at Q1, a big blow to the championship fight. He'll have to make his way very rapidly through the order to stand any chance of taking the title come at the end of the race. 16th place for him. Abva starts 17th, then it's Canner in 18th, Suicide in 19th, and Goose starting plumb last, the man, 3rd place in the championship. This will be an incredibly exciting finale race, and I really hope you join us for it. I cannot wait, personally. But for now, and for this one-off special qualifying session, goodbye.